Hello and welcome to another Bukkit server setup tutorial. Today we're going to be going over World Edit and World Guard. We are going to start with installation and getting it set up. And if we get to it, we can learn how to use it in some commands. Although if this gets too long, I might split it into two tutorials. But as of now, I just don't know. So let's get started. To get started, you're going to need to download World Edit and World Guard. I have placed the links in the description and have downloaded them for this tutorial. If you look here, I have World Guard and World Edit right inside my downloads folder, and I'm going to open my server folder too. Inside the server folder, we can go in the plugins folder, and as of now, since I'm just explaining World Edit and World Guard, I will be deleting all this. You can if you'd like to, you don't need to, but just for this I'm going to. And to start, all you need to do is drag in each of these folders, World Edit and World Guard, there is a jar file, and from each folder you're going to drag it into your plugins folder. So drag worldedit.jar and worldguard.jar in there, and we can start the server by clicking the start.batch. The server will run through and start up all the plugins for you, which is good. And once that's good, we have our configuration files, which should be created inside these plugin folders. So let's start with World Guard configuration, because that's the only one we actually really need to configure, and open it with Notepad++ or a text editor if you don't have it. Inside here we have our configuration, and you do not need to configure this. This is region scheduler, and you really don't need to do that unless you'd like to. But as of now, I would just leave this by default. Auto invincible, you can keep it false. Use player move event true, and use player teleports true. Security, if you'd like to de-op everyone on join, you can set that to true, but I would keep that at false. Block in-game op commands, I would keep that at false. And the host keys, you don't need to bother about that. Summary on start is good because it gives you a little bit of log of what happens. For example, if we look here, it gave the World Guard log of everything that was enabled and disabled. And then op permissions, you want to keep on true. Protection, item durability, yes, you want to keep that on true. Remove infinite stacks, false. Disable XP orb drops, definitely false, because you want people to pick up XP on your server. If you don't want people to pick up XP, you can actually put that to true. And disable obsidian generators, you can keep on false unless you don't want people making obsidian generators. You can block potions, you can block overlay reliability, which you should keep it false. You wouldn't really need to mess with that. You can simulate sponges picking up water, which is actually really cool. I like this part of World Guard, and I would keep that unenabled unless you really don't want that functionality. And the radius pretty much means how much water it'll suck up within the amount of blocks. So if you place a sponge, it will suck up 3 blocks of water around itself. Redstone, you can enable this with redstone. I would keep that at false. Pumpkin scuba pretty much means if someone is wearing a pumpkin mask, they can go underwater and won't lose air. That's not necessarily part of the game, but if you want to add it, you can easily set it true. You can disable health regain if you'd like, although you don't need to. And here's where physics comes in with World Guard. You can disable physics for gravel, sand, vine-like rope ladders, allow portals anywhere, and disable water damage. So this would turn off physics for gravel and sand. This would turn off ladders made of vines, and this would allow portals anywhere, which is a very bad idea. You should use Minecraft's default portal making algorithm, so I would keep this at false. And you could disable water damage blocks if you'd like to, but you don't need to. Ignition pretty much means explosions, or that could cause explosions. So block TNT means if you don't want TNT to explode on your server, you can set this to true. You can actually make it so it does explode, but it doesn't cause any block damage. You can set that to true. Or you can just block the lighter all in all, which means people can't use the lighter to light TNT. Fire, you can disable lava fire spread, which means if lava is like next to a tree, for example, it won't burn down half a forest. You could disable all fire spread, so if you light one block on fire, that's the only block that'll burn, not the ones around it. Or you could disable fire spread blocks, which pretty much means wood or anything that can be lit on fire. And these lava spread blocks can be defined here. And here's where you can block mob things such as creeper explosions, snowman trails, wolf dumbness, fireball explosions, etc. And you can easily change these by typing in true or false. Now, player damage. You can disable fall damage by changing this to true or false, or any of these player damage opportunities. You can enable chest protection, although I will be going over a plugin later on that protects chests, so I would keep this at false for now. Crops, you can disable creature trampling, and I actually like to have this on true, because it's really annoying if an animal comes over and steps on the crops and breaks them. You can also disable player trampling, which I also like to have it true. You can prevent lightning strike blocks, which can set them on fire. Pretty much any weather damage that happens, you can enable or disable. Dynamic, such as mushroom spread, ice melting, snow melting, ice formation, etc. And you can blacklist certain things, like certain files. This is pretty advanced, and I would suggest just leaving this alone, and as it's a pretty smart idea. And you don't need to enable a database as of now. But that's pretty much the configuration file for WorldGuard. It's pretty straightforward, and yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So we can save this and close, and inside the worlds file, you just have world, nether, world, etc. You don't need to mess with this. This is pretty much how regions work, which I will explain in the next tutorial. And here's world edits configuration file. You really don't need to mess with this at all. I highly suggest you don't, because there's no reason to. But you can pretty much disallow certain blocks by using their item code, and pretty much really anything if you want to disallow. But that's pretty much the world edits configuration file, which you don't need to mess with. Here's the log for it, which doesn't have anything right now because we haven't had anything to log yet. But that's pretty much how world edit and WorldGuard are configured, and this tutorial would be too long if I showed how to use them side by side, so I'll actually show that in the next tutorial. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.